Hear me now, keepers of memory, for the tale reaches the moment when his childhood began to look outward, when the canyon walls that sheltered him could no longer contain the stirrings of his spirit. He had grown in the rhythm of our clan's ways, planting seeds in stubborn soil, caring for the wounded creatures that limped from shadowed crevices, learning our songs of labor and gratitude, breathing the harsh, dry wind as though it were part of him in those early years. Ryloth shaped him more gently than any world could shape a child born with such a hidden scar of destiny. But even the safest canyon cannot hold a storm forever. It began with small signs. He climbed higher along the cliff paths than the others, drawn to the places where the sky felt near enough to touch. And when he looked across the horizon, his eyes carried a longing no member of the clan could place, as though some distant star was calling him home, or warning him. He asked questions, then questions. A child of Ryloth is rarely taught so young. What lies beyond our storms? Why do ships cross the sky? Where do the lost go? The elders answered patiently, but they sensed what those questions meant. The force that whispered in him was leading his thoughts outward, toward a future none of us could see. One evening, as the sun slipped behind the jagged ridgeline and cast the canyon into that long, soft twilight we treasure so deeply, the boy stood at the highest ledge overlooking the wide expanse. The wind pulled at his tunic and the dust swirled in a dance of golden rust-red light. I am told he stood perfectly still, as if listening to a voice only he could hear. Later he would say that in that moment he felt two paths unfurl before him, one bright, one dark, neither fully formed, both heavy with promise and pain. He did not understand what they meant, only that someday he would have to choose which horizon he would follow. But even as questions deepened within him, he did not turn from the life he knew. He helped harvest the fungal crops that grew in the shaded caverns. He repaired nets for catching insects before the long night settled in. He learned the gestures of respect spoken through Leka movement as carefully as any child of the clan, in every way that mattered. He was one of us, yet the force stirred around him like an unquiet breeze. The healers sensed it in their bones, the guardians in their hearts. The boy moved with a grace that had not been taught, saw through cautions that had not been spoken, and soothed tempests of emotion, as though his presence alone could steady the world. Then came the day the strangers arrived from the sky. Their ship descended in a tremble of light, settling upon the canyon floor with the careful hush of travelers who knew they stepped onto sacred ground. Their robes, tan, weather-worn, marked by long journeys, fluttered in the wind. not yet understand what the Jedi Order meant, or why they mapped distant worlds. They only knew that these visitors carried a calm weight in their eyes, a watchfulness that reminded them of healers and warriors blended as one. And when the boys stepped forward to greet them with the politeness our people teach, the Jedi paused, not in fear, but in recognition. They felt the force around him like a cord plucked across time, a resonance that matched no one in the clan. They saw the hidden tremor in his right arm, the faint marks of old unnatural scars that no Ryloth child could bear. Most of all, they saw the destiny that shimmered upon him, like the heat haze of the desert plains. He did not know who they were, but he sensed something familiar in them, a faint echo of the storm that had surged through him years before, a whisper of the same power that had awakened painful memories he still could not piece together. He stood between two worlds then, the life he loved and the call he could not yet name. This, my kin, is the horizon of destiny, when the future opens wide and the heart must decide whether to cling to safety or walk into the unknown. The boy did not choose that day, nor did the clan. The moment simply carved itself into the memory of all who witnessed it. A child of Ryloth found in a fallen cradle of metal, now standing face to face with those who would someday lead him into a fate he could not